Hi everyone, I'm Kathy Hazel Adams. Thank you for joining me today. First of all, if you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And if you've been watching my videos, thank you. Thank you for your support. Thanks for coming back. And thank you for the comments and questions you've been leaving. They mean more to me than you really know. So today's video, which is the third in the Great Shift series of videos, is about why and how there are so many possible, probable timelines and versions of timelines available to us being predicted. We'll be talking a little bit about the quantum vacuum field of possibility, the 0-point energy field, and how that all plays out. And very importantly, we're going to talk about, can we, you and I as individuals, wake up now? Remember who we are now. I feel the need to talk about that because someone wrote to me after the last video saying that we can't remember who we are until the ascension. Well, that's a belief, not a truth. But if it's what you believe, it's what you will experience. And so that's why I want to talk about that with you today. Can I ascend? Can I remember who I really am before the ascension event? Yes, indeedy. That's what we're meant to do, and that's what we'll talk about today. So let's start with all the possible, probable versions of timelines and events and the quantum vacuum field of possibility or probability. The thing about that quantum field is, it is really the physics description of the mind of God. The quantum field holds all possibilities simultaneously. If there's an event of any sort, all the different possible versions of that event actually exist, not theoretically, vibrationally. They really exist within the overarching, overall reality of that event. And then we experience the version of that event that we vibrate based upon our own intentions and desires and beliefs and attitudes and all of those things. But in the quantum field, everything exists simultaneously, past, present, and future. We just experience things linearly and in time because in this construct particularly, we have experiences one at a time. And so that creates the feeling of time for us. But reality is not linear. It is literally simultaneous. There's the infinite present, the infinite now. My teacher, Seth, had a great little exercise in one of his books that had you sort of imagine yourself going down, Main Street in your town. And I used this exercise actually in my conscious co-creation classes. Imagine yourself going down the main street of your town and getting to an intersection, and the road to the right maybe goes off to your local grocery store and library. The road to the left maybe heads off into the mountains, and the road straight forward maybe goes into a suburb and neighborhood of houses. When you come to that intersection and perhaps you're not quite sure what errands you want to run first or what you want to do first or even what you want to get done today, and then you make a decision and perhaps you turn toward the grocery store and the library. Okay, so that's the version of reality you vibrate with and experience. The version of you that may have chosen to drive straight forward and maybe visit your best friend who lives up in that suburb, that version still exists. You can actually sit in kind of a meditation and track that that version of how your day went is just as real and valid as the one you physically chose. You can actually sense them both as real and true. It's just that you decided to vibrate with the one where you went to the library and the grocery store first. Same thing, with the mountains off on the left. Maybe part of you wanted to take a little drive in the mountains. You can track that and feel that as a very legitimate, energetic, vibrational reality. It's just not the one you chose. And as Seth said, you can kind of only follow those probable paths to a certain point, and then you kind of lose it. So all of the possibilities, all the versions of any given action or event already exist. Another example that Seth used is an apple. If you have a green apple with like a freckle or a dent on it, that automatically implies in the field of apple, all the other apples that maybe aren't green or don't have a dent. The existence of one version of something automatically implies all of the versions of it that exist within the mind of God or the quantum vacuum field of possibility. Seth also said, everything and everyone has all its probabilities. So I, as Kathy, have all the probable versions of myself, all the probable versions of my lifetime and choices that were made. You have all the probable versions of yourself, your lifetime, the choices that you made in different lifetimes. Countries have probabilities. So the versions of how a country grows and what its history going backward and going forward, all the probable versions of that country do exist in the quantum field, and they exist simultaneously. And the same thing for the planet, for the Earth. The Earth exists in all of its probable versions. And here's where we get down to it. The Earth exists both where it still has a foot in the 3D, but it also already exists where all of us have risen into the higher dimension, the higher octave frequency. And that's why it's accurate, depending on what you vibrate in, to say we haven't ascended yet, but we are ascending. We're ascending right now as we speak, or we will be in a couple of years. All of those things are equally valid in the quantum field of possibility. And it always comes back to, what do we vibrate individually and in the collective that we're a part of? So in a very real way, the new Earth, the new version of the human consciousness already exists, and it is there to be vibrated with. And that's what you and I and many of us are doing. We're vibrating in that new Earth while still vibrating with a foot in the 3D. So we're vibrating in the version of the collective reality right now that's sort of at that tipping point, the flipping point, where you're leaving one construct and moving into the other and aren't quite there 100% yet. But most of us, many of us, have in meditation and more in our daily reality, are learning to inhabit that new Earth. We are literally the tipping point, everybody. The human consciousness is made of individuals. It is also a collective consciousness. So as individual parts of that collective consciousness, you and me and many others, rise into the higher vibration and live in the new Earth paradigm, we are literally shifting the quality of the collective consciousness for the whole. We literally help carry our collective into the new version of what it's able to be and what the Earth is able to be. You can think of it as a tipping point, and by now we've all heard this example of morphic fields, collective consciousness, the 51st monkey. So there's monkey consciousness. Out of a group of 100, as individuals start picking up tools and using them, when the 51st monkey starts picking up a tool and using it, all of a sudden it's not just outlier individuals. The monkey collective consciousness is now infused, now holds the possibility of using tools. And now it's easier for the rest of the population to start using tools because their collective consciousness has been upgraded to include tool use. That's what we are doing, you guys. So not only can we remember who and what we are while we're still in this transition, that's what many of us are here to do. We're here to be the tipping point. We're not here to wait for some event outside of ourselves to give us permission to remember. We're here to remember, start picking up the tools as individuals. And again, that carries the collective into its new state where it just makes it easier for everybody to access. And now it's just the new normal and a given that we're all there. Just like it would be the new normal and a given that all the monkeys would be using tools. It's like, well, of course we do. We all use tools. Right. But it's because what started out as individuals and outliers got the vibration of the collective started that way. So again, you and I are occupying the version of human consciousness and the version of the ascension, the probable version of the ascension right now, where it's not completed yet for everybody, but it's just getting ready to flip. And we are the energetic weight and impetus to help it flip. The Arcturians have said this over and over. You don't have to wait for the ascension to rise into the higher level of consciousness, into the fifth dimensional consciousness. And they have also said, don't wait for the change. You are the change. It's when the 51st human wakes up and remembers who and what we are, that is the flip. Now, because there are so many available timelines and versions of timelines for individuals and for the collective, again, depending on what we vibrate with, that's why you have so many different predictions. And I'll do another video here on how that kind of information is accessed, whether it really is completely neutral even for unconscious channels. But for right now, to keep this short, the simple explanation is there are so many predictions because there are literally so many versions. It does literally depend on which version you vibrate with. And it depends on which versions are sort of burbling to the surface of consciousness. Like, these are the strongest probable versions of how things go. They're not the only probable versions, and it is impossible to say which one will be chosen for sure, because there is always free will, both on the part of the individual and, frankly, the collective of which we are a part. So again, to keep things short, we'll leave it there for this video. I will do another video on channelers, channelings. Again, are they neutral? What are people reading? What are people like myself picking up when I make any kind of sort of statements about I've seen this, this, and this probability? We'll talk about that in the next video. Meanwhile, if you have any questions or thoughts or something else you'd like me to talk about, please let me know in the comments. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and have a most blessed day.